like super black.
Nah.
Yeah.
That light is perfect. I can twist
Oh,
it again.
yeah.
Put a light here right on top of it.
No, it should be fine.
All right.
Is this it? No, take one, take two.
We just say, hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Consider Ravens podcast. I believe this is going to be episode number 26, because we did a double episode with Hannah and Savannah, so which was unexpected, by the way. Today we have our very own Coleman campus worship pastor, Lucas Eddings, and I've been looking forward to this one for a while. He has been my mentor and kind of like spiritual leader for, I think basically the whole time I've been here for 3 years, because we kind of came here at the same time.
Yeah.
And things were a little awkward with me at the beginning, but
It was just him though. I don't know.
It was
He told me.
all
I
me.
still don't know what the heck he was talking about.
It was all me. I really was trying too hard to be friends, and I didn't know how to make conversation. And then someone made the joke that he didn't like me, and I just kind of kept bringing that up. And he one time took it and ran with it as a joke, and that was it. But it was, some people thought it was real for a minute.
Which is kind of disappointing, but also I get it because sometimes like I'll say something with a very serious face. It's hard not to believe me. I'm really convincing.
He is.
It could be a problem if I use it poorly. So
The amount of times that he strikes fear in people's hearts around here is hilarious.
it's good times.
And he does it so well because you never know until he starts laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and he did that to me, I think twice. It's scary every time.
It's a pastime of mine. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if I'll ever hear something and be like, "That's a joke." If he's looking at me like this, I'm believing it, 1000%. So Lucas, where are you from? Like, what was it like growing up? And we'll start there.
Cool. Where am I from, and where it was like? What was it like growing up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so loaded answer because I'm a military brat. So
Okay.
technically, I'm from Alabama.
Mhm.
Not technically, I'm from Alabama. I grew up most of my life. Now I've been in Alabama, but my parents are military, so we moved. We moved all over Alabama, between central and like central south Alabama. Until I was in high school, and then ended up in Texas for a little bit, and then ended up in New Jersey. So my roots are here. I've been around a good bit. So
Around.
yeah,
I was almost a military brat, but my dad had a car accident and got rods in his leg, and they couldn't take him after that. So,
they
yeah,
weren't
he,
accepting bionic men at that point.
right, yeah, he had already gone through basic and everything. Yeah, it was close,
But
but
if he went through basic, did he get to? That's not important. I don't need to know if your dad got disability or not. Anyway, moving on. Go ahead.
I don't think so,
Uh,
because he's been working as long as I've been alive. So, so you being a military brat, you move around a lot. You said.
Yep.
Where did you? How many schools did you go to?
You want all of them or like the high school version?
We'll just do high school.
High school 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to make sure.
Did you graduate from somewhere in Alabama?
Nope.
Or
Graduated in New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah.
I've never been to New Jersey.
Same.
What?
That's a joke. I've been to
See?
New Jersey.
You see that? See?
It's quick too. Like you just never know.
How is New Jersey? How different is New Jersey?
Yeah. I would say it's not crazy. I really don't think it's what a lot of people think about New Jersey, especially the place that we were. You know, you hear New Jersey, you think some of the rougher areas or like the beach scene. So, there's that show Jersey Shore that came out years ago. Or, you know, you're talking like Camden, so some of the rougher parts of Jersey, it's really not that crazy. Like it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, somewhere around like the Montgomery area. Like it's very similar, I'd say, to there. We actually didn't live too far from like several hundreds of acres of like straight up farmland.
Wow.
But we lived in little townhomes and all that. I would say the biggest difference is the people. Um, the people in Jersey. I think there's this. Once you get past the base level of like, hey, you almost ran me off the road because you're driving so aggressively. You know, once you get past the base relationships that you have with people, you kind of catch wind that there's a lot more. I would say an overabundance of how do I say this and not sound like a terrible person? There's an overabundance. I'm just gonna say it because I don't care. There's an overabundance of exception. Did I say that right? Like they just everything's like okay, cool, and it's kind of weird.
Right.
I'm like, you don't have a problem with what's going on right now? They're like, no, whatever you do. I'm like, excuse me, I got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also I think us Southern folk do that too. We just say bless your heart. That's our version.
Yeah.
They just don't care, and I think that's the difference. Like there's this high level of like I don't care for a lot of things.
Right.
So yeah,
So, what do you mind sharing your salvation testimony?
yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So my family has I've been in church all of my life. Pretty sure I was born in a church. That's not true. I was born in a hospital. But I mean, my family, my grandfather was a pastor before he died. Pastor for years before he died. My uncle, also a pastor, and his wife, was also ministering alongside him. And my grandmother was my grandfather. And so we, I've been in church all my life. Man, where to even begin with all that? I've been in church all my life. I'd say probably around like third to fourth grade is I think when at least for me when I can point back to where my story started to come to light for me. So it's around this time where my mom and dad, or at least the guy who I thought was my dad, began. They told us, they told me and my sister-in-law, stepsister, yeah, stepsister. It's my dad's daughter, but not my biological sister. Half sister. Words are hard. Anyway, so they pulled me and my half sister down, which again I was not aware of this whole thing at the time, but they pulled me and my half sister into the living room one day and told us that they were getting a divorce, and like I was like, you guys are so funny. They were not joking. It wasn't funny actually, but yeah, they got emotional damage. No, but so they got divorced, and shortly after, I'd say within the next several months, just getting into school and all that, I didn't really hear from this guy who I thought was my dad, and ended up going and spending some time with some relatives out in California. A summer, I'm like 11 or so at this point, and my aunt, who I was staying with, she began to ask me about my dad. She was like, "Have you talked to your dad recently?" And I'm like, "No, not really. You know, we hadn't really been able to stay in a whole lot of contact." And she was like, "Oh, not Michael, your dad." So at that point, that's when I found out that there's some other messy stuff in that conversation, but at that point, I found out that not only was that guy who I thought was my dad, wasn't my dad, but that obviously there's another human being in this whole mix, and um, yeah. So and as somebody that age, and I think just where I was mentally, being able to express all that I'm talking about right now, or all that I'll say right now, obviously, that's a bit difficult outside of your kind of base level emotional thing. So that was the I'd say that's probably the beginnings of my anger issues and all the stuff that I started working through. Um, because you're small and young, and then like the only thing that you can point to, at least for me, the only thing that I could point to that was the determining factor of this person who created me was that didn't want to be a part of my life was me. And so like, internalizing all that, like, and then also being upset because nobody would tell me the truth, and I had to find, like, specifically my mom, didn't tell me about all those things, and so just yeah. So I think that and some other things just kind of led me into um, this just life of resentment, a lot of bitterness, a lot of anger, um, and that lived on through a lot of my life. And honestly, I just wasn't in a great neighborhood as I was growing up too. So, when you walk to the bus and you get into a fist fight over $3, like that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. It happened though. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, just a combination of things. You just kind of where I grew up in particular, you kind of had to put on the the uh, the hard persona. Like don't mess with me or I'll. I'm like, this is you. Can I just say what is on my head instead? Because I don't. Do I need to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't mess with me or I'll stab you. You know what I'm saying? Cause I mean that it was real. It's wild too to think because I go and visit that area every now and then, and I know and I've read some papers and I know of some people that I grew up with that they got involved with gang shootings and are dead now, and I'm like my life just started. I feel like, but some of these people that I grew up with, man, they never got away from the nonsense for whatever reason, they could never just get out of it. And now several of those people are no longer on this earth. And anyway, that's a side note. Moving back to, so at that point, I'm still in church. We're at this church right outside of central Birmingham. And we ended up actually merging with another church. And this church is where I spent a significant part of my life, Evangel Assembly of God out in Mount Olive, Alabama. So we ended up merging, man. I went to this camp, man. And again, I've been, at this point, I've been around and, done the church thing for God knows how long at that point, I guess however old I was. And, there was a word that was given and it was on the love of the Heavenly Father. And, so unwrapping that as an 11, 12-year-old, I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I'm angry that would even be that would even be talked about in my presence over their stuff that I'm going through. So man, I remember I walked outside and started kicking a tire because I was just so enraged. But man, like the Lord really met me at that point, and I said, I don't know what that looks like, but I want to. And so it was at that point. That I gave my life to the Lord, and I love that. I love that all of that stuff led me to this moment, because all of that stuff led me to where I am right now, and it's really wild. Because like, what's funny is I didn't just get over the whole dad thing because I gave my life to the Lord. It took me years, and honestly, I didn't even realize that I had an issue once I got older until the Lord showed me. Sorry, did you have another question or do you want to keep going?
It's all good. Just keep going.
Sweet, I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, so so we can fast forward. There are several things that I just I couldn't. I did not have the tools to really work through them yet. Like I gave my life to the Lord, but I was still angry. I gave my life to the Lord, but I was still, I was still, depressed, slightly suicidal. Um, um, I don't know if that was because I wanted attention or if like I was actually there, but in the moment it felt pretty real. But yeah, just moving forward through the rest of high school and all of that stuff, and like, and then again, I'm a military brat, so like any kind of friendship that I made where I was, especially now that I'm in this church, like now I'm having to move, halfway up the country, so I'm losing all of that I've now had time to build, and feeling somewhat kind of a little bit stable, with where I am in this world, and to have to move and start all that stuff over. Like me and God were pretty much done. I was done. I know it's so funny because it sounds so like, bro, are you kidding me? That's so basic. I was 11. I was 12. Like,
Yeah.
let me have this. Okay. But yeah, man, I was working through a lot. And I got into high school, and man, again, just the anger, it ruled my life. The bitterness, it ruled my life for so long. And like, I'd be fine some days, but then there were days where, who, I don't know who that kid is anymore. Man, and it's actually this month. I thought it was in May for some reason, but for some godforsaken reason, I had Facebook when I was like 14, 15 years old. I don't know who the heck let me do that. That was the dumbest thing in the world. But one of the blessings that it's very sobering, but it's such a blessing to me, is to read the posts that I made at that age about people who I hold near and dear to my life, to my heart. Now, one in particular being my mother. My because of all the stuff that had happened, like I grew to resent her. Just being honest,
Yeah.
I did not have a lot of love in my heart, man. I made posts like, "I'm not this way, but you're gonna push me one day too far." You know,
Yeah.
like it's real, and like always just feeling hurt, and feeling like I'm just like nobody actually cares about me or anything that I have to say. I felt silent, um, uh, like the word again, the suicidal thoughts of like the world would be better if I just wasn't here. Because obviously, because I'm here, it's causing all of this chaos, and I see that, but I can do nothing about it. So a lot of that, and I went through most of high school in that same vein, just teeter tottering, trying to figure this thing out, and I'm trying to do it without God. For the most part, man, like my grades were pretty much in the tubes, and I finished. And the grades thing is that's a whole nother story. But it wasn't because I was stupid, because I'm taking standardized tests and I'm scoring top 10% of the nation, for all of these tests. But like I just I never made it, or I did make it, but I made sure that I did the very very minimum to get out of high school.
Yeah.
But man, like. And I think my senior year is where really things turned around, man. Again, I ended up flying back to Alabama to go to church camp, and man, it's always, I love camp because like you go in expecting, and there's always this big emotional experience and all those things, and it's awesome, it's wonderful, but this one was different, like this one like there was something about it that caused me to just want to let go of all of those things, all the stuff that I had been holding on to. I didn't get rid of it all, but man, like I came back, and this is in the middle of my senior year. I came back, man, sober minded, and I told my mom I think I need to go to college, and yeah. Uh, that's another story. Let me get to the juicy stuff, because
Okay.
I think if I'll tell a whole other story if I go off on that rabbit hole. But yeah, man. So I got through high school. Uh, got through high school. Long story short, on the grades thing, like I had to make a 2.5 GPA to get to graduate and to be eligible to get into the college that I was looking for. or that I was looking into, which is Sanford University, and it ended up getting in there with a significant amount of scholarship money. And
Nice.
so, like, I made my way back to Alabama, got to essentially rejoin my home church that I was a part of, and man, I think that was like the next step in my discipleship journey. Just like I told my mom, I need a foundation. Like I need a foundation in Jesus. I need to go where my foundation can be strong. I came back to Alabama, and I got in with my church and got to doing stuff at school. Went to school to be a music teacher, so music education with a concentration in voice and tuba. Yeah,
Voice and tuba.
voice and tuba.
Nice.
Yeah, ball, 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 ball. Details. If you don't know what that song is, you're not safe. Anyway, but yeah, man. And this is where it gets crazy, because like, I'm gonna share this, and this is a prayer that like is so dangerous because it really costs you everything that you have. I'm in the middle of college, and I told in this to sorry, let me relax and say what I'm gonna say, and then I'll get excited. I'm in the middle of college, so like I think it's my junior year, my third year of college, and I'm praying one day, and I say, Lord, and at this point everything's going pretty hunky dory in my life. I'm in college and just hitting the books, bro. Like I'm in everything, I'm doing everything. Um, I was doing too much, but that's beside the point. I was doing everything at a pretty high level. Um, but yeah, and I prayed this prayer and I said, Lord, I know that there's more that you have for me. And because of that, I want you to search me and show me if there's anything that's in me that's keeping me from you. Show me and deal with it. That was the dumbest prayer I've ever prayed in my entire life. It destroyed my life, or at least it was in that time frame. It took 3 days for the Lord to answer that prayer. That made me mad. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like even thinking about it right now, I'm like, bro, like you couldn't have eased me into this one. So
It took 3 days.
it took 3 days, bro. He pulled a Jesus on me. Anyway, so I stupid. Anyway, I get this is I want to say like 2013, 14 or something like that. And this is back when message requests weren't really a known thing on Facebook. And so I see the little blurb on Facebook, like the little Facebook post, and it's like, check your message requests. You probably got messages from people you don't even know. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go check it.
Yeah.
We had Taco Bell after a youth night, right?
Oh.
Taco Bell. I'm chilling, got my homie on the left, and I pull my phone out, and I'm just because we ain't talking about nothing, so I'm just kind of googling. I'm messing around on Facebook, and I go into my message requests, and I got this long message from this random dude. I don't even think he had a profile picture at that point, and I'm like, I had a few other ones, but this one I was just like, oh, who the heck is this? Because like they were talking like they knew me, and so I'm like, I'm scrolling through. I'm scrolling through this message and I'm reading it, and like the more I read it, the more I'm realizing this is my biological father who's reaching out to me on Facebook. Yeah, and you can have different reactions to that, but immediately, like this heaviness came on me, and this anger and vitriol just began to rise in me. I could feel it. I have never been more angry before that, and to this day, I've never been more consumed with anger than I was in this moment. I get to the bottom of this message, and he says, I'm proud of you, son. And I about burned the building down. I didn't do anything in particular. It's just what I was feeling on the inside was I didn't know how to manage that. Like I showed my friend who was sitting next to me, a really close guy, and he just like his eyes got big and just like, whoa. I went back to school, went back to my dorm, or really the parking lot below my dorm, and I mean, I almost broke my hand just laying into my steering wheel because I was so angry that this stranger would step into my life at this point when all of a sudden I'm like doing well for myself, I'm successful.
Yeah.
Like I was winning awards and like in college and just doing like getting weird amounts of traction for no reason at this time in my life. Like just weird. It was real strange. And it was you could see it. You could see it on social media as well. And it just felt like this guy was trying to encroach on my success that he didn't help build. You know?
Yeah.
And I wasn't really that successful, but you know, I'm speaking out of college Lucas's mind.
Right.
But yeah, man, I called my pastor and I told him I know I'm supposed to have love in my heart and be willing to forgive, but I have nothing for him. And you know me, I would never say this. I hate that guy with everything that I am. And I know, when I told him this, I said, I know that this is the Lord wanting to deal with me, but I'm so empty. What I didn't know at that point, what I didn't understand at that point is that what was really happening was healing. Because what God was doing was He was showing me the bitterness that was inside of me, that was at my very core. The Bible talks about bitterness and how it essentially perverts is not the right word. The Bible talks about bitterness and how it essentially ruins the fruit thereof, right? And it poisons the vine, and that's like if there was a place for me in the Bible, it would have been right there, because I had all these things, I was doing all these things, but what was at my core was I gotta be better than that piece of crap. I gotta be better than it. I gotta be better than the guy who left my mom and me, who stopped talking to me. I gotta be better than the other crappy examples of Christian men. Again, I'm talking out of college. Or really all of Lucas's up to this point, mine. I gotta be better than all of these quote unquote godly men who have failed me so miserably. I gotta be better than them. I gotta run away from all that crap. I'm gonna be better than them. And all I was doing was speaking out of a place. All I was doing was living, really. Yeah. But I was living with bitterness that had just clenched my heart. And I had done it for so long that I was so used to it. So of course, when the Lord, and this is what I'm saying, 3 days after I asked God to expose me, he do it. Just took my heart and just laid it on the table and been like, this looks nasty, bro. Like, you gotta do something about this. I'm gonna do something about this. Now I'm done. God saying He's gonna do something about my heart. And this emptiness that I can only describe as emptiness was like the removal of everything that I built my life on, which was garbage.
Yeah.
But it's all I had. It's who I was. And so, man, the Lord just began to and it took a while. And honestly, I feel like there's still some stuff in there that like we're dealing with, we're working on. But man, it took probably about a year of yanking off yanking out the bitter roots and cleaning off the scars of my heart to receive the love of Christ, to receive the Father's love, and to be able to let that pour out of me towards my Father, towards my biological father. And now fast forward, I'm 31 and I've got a almost 6-month-old.
Yeah.
Which is wild. And I'm so glad that like I walked through all that stuff. Because when I look at my child, man, I think if I hadn't gone through that stuff, I'd have looked at my child and been angry with my father because I'd say, how could you miss out on something so precious?
Right.
Which is awesome because for most of my life, precious was not a synonym that I would attribute to me. You know what I'm saying? I did it with my son, and then I realized I'm sitting in the hospital, man. Like it's day 2, day 3 in the hospital, and I got my son in my hands, and I'm just weeping. And I told my wife, like, I pity him because he missed the most precious thing of his life. Not to, you know,
Right. I get it.
not to toot my own horn, but pretty great. But no, it's so real. Um, yeah, like I felt so holding my son. I felt so impassioned to love him, and I began to pray for him because I was like, man, you can never get that back. Like you can never get that part of your life back. It's something to cherish. I am something to cherish. That's weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's even kind of weird to say it right now. You know, you're something. You're something to cherish. I mean, anybody who's watching this, you know, that's, and I feel like I'm in ministry moment right here, but it's so real that like uh, the world the world sees you and they only point to your value based on what you can give it, and that's garbage. Now I know that we are born into a world of sin, but God calls you His. He calls you the apple of His eye. And He did that before you were even conceived, before you were even born. And so part of the problem that I had was I listened to the lies of the people that were around me. I listened to those lies. I listened to the lies of the things that I said to myself. See, a lot of folks, they got issues. They're dealing with homosexuality and transsexual stuff and all of those things, and it's the same problem that I had. I never felt gay or anything along those lines, but it's the same problem that I had in that my identity was so caught up in what I thought of myself and what other people thought of me. And so when I combined those things, what I got was a piece of garbage that doesn't deserve to be on this planet. And everybody and this piece of garbage thinks that everybody sees him as a piece of garbage. And I have a feeling that a lot of people have that same thing going for them. You know, where you have bought in to everything that the world has told you you are, and they have no say. They quite literally have no say that is quantifiable to who you are, because you weren't built by them, you weren't made by them. You were formed in your mother's womb by the hands of the Almighty Father, which makes you red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in His sight. It makes you precious in the eyes of the Lord. It makes you worth the sacrifice of His Son to bring you back into relationship with Him, where He can tell you who you are. And so, like, all that stuff, I know that was really long-winded, but wow. All that's, and there's a lot more, but that's I guess the somewhat redacted version. But all that to say, man, I don't know why I even landed here, but if you're watching and you struggle with identity, I get it. I think we all do at some point, honestly. And it may manifest differently for you. It may come out differently for you, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the most freeing thing that you can do is to live your life based on how God tells you to. Not based on what you think of it, but to dive into the Word and dive into the Bible and find who you're supposed to be, who you're called to be. It's the most freeing thing, because I don't have to walk around with a chip on my shoulder, thinking that I've got something to prove. I still have to deal with that from time to time, but I don't have to walk around with a chip on my shoulder thinking that I have something to prove, because I have nothing to prove to anybody. But I have everything to give to the Lord, and to be able to do that so freely is the most freeing thing that I've been able to do in my life. Anyway, what's your next question? maybe I won't spend 30 minutes on it.
So, how long have you been in the worship pastor, like, era, or like when did you start going, I want to be a worship guy, I want to be a worship pastor?
Yeah, so I didn't start really. I mean, I started playing tuba seventh, sixth grade, and it was just kind of like, cool. I'm playing tuba.
Right.
Yeah, and I did some sports. Did that for a couple of years. Um, yeah, and then I got into high school, and this is around the tumultuous, what's the word, around the crazy times
Yeah.
of my life, and so. But yeah, I ended up going, dropping sports and going full music, and so started doing choir, started doing really whatever I could get my hands on band,
Right.
just dove into that world, and I didn't really start doing worship stuff until like 11th grade.
Okay.
Like I found a church. Shout out to Pastor Phil up in Jersey. That man pastored me through the crazy times of my life. Don't know how he did it, but I'm glad he did. Yeah. So I kind of did a little bit, and bro, I remember I remember the first time I played the piano. Bro, I was listening to this one song by Hillsong, and I was just like, it was one of them 4-chord wonder songs, and I could not wrap my brain around moving my hands faster to play these chords faster. So I'm like, falling on my knees in worship, giving, and I already missed 3 chords at that point. Bro, it was crazy. It's crazy. I don't even know how I move my hands like that anymore. Like at this point in my life, just knowing where I was at that point, it was just like a total like brain not even a fart, just like a constant state of releasing brain cells. So I couldn't do anything. Anyway,
For those of you who don't know, this man goes crazy on the keys. Pretty much every week that I see him on the keys. One week, it was after service, and after service we played a little bit of music, right? But he was jamming. He walked up behind the keys, so he was playing, looking at the keyboard upside down, just jamming out. And he's sitting here saying he couldn't play 3 chords quickly. And I'm like, that don't make no sense to me.
bro, I've never been more stressed out in my life. That's not true. But it's gonna be true for these intents and purposes. I've never been more stressed out in my life than trying to play a chord faster. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but yeah, so I didn't touch a piano or anything like remotely. I'd say modern worship up until probably 11th grade. And even then, I didn't do a whole lot of it. So I mean, I was kind of learning piano at that point, just because we had pianos sitting in the hallways at the school and in rehearsal rooms and stuff. So I'd just go out and I'd go there and pretty much grind and just figure out how to use my fingers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't. I got out of high school, came back down to Alabama for college, and wanted to join the church or wanted to just serve at my church, and I was like, hey, I can play keys a little bit. Like, I mean, if you got the room, like like we had an extra keyboard there. I was like, yeah, come on, jump on, let's do it. So I was like, cool, and I did it. Yeah, and I did that, and it just kind of morphed into me leading worship. Like I wasn't even planning on singing or anything like that. I was just like, yeah, I just want to help. Like I've got this ability. Let me jump alongside you and try to figure out how to do the thing. And man, that's awesome. Like that old country church kind of thing. Like it's just like that's awesome. That's awesome. We need a lot more of that. Yeah. And then that went on for a few years. I ended up starting to lead, like starting to sing a little bit. And,
Yeah. Have you always been just this amazing singer?
No, God no.
No.
Oh God no. No.
Because there'll be times where you'll be goofing around and you start singing worship songs in like theater style, and opera style, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that took some work. That took some work. Honestly, it's still taking work. But no. And this is one of the things that like about music is a side note. But one of the things about music is like it's an ever growing art. But it only grows if you're willing to put the work into it. Like there are no shortcuts to it. Like if you're gonna do the thing, like you gotta put the time in, and it's not a one time. It's not like once a week. where you just be like, oh, I'm gonna figure this out, and then like you got it. That's not how that works. Like it requires brain power. It requires you using your whatever you're using to play an instrument. Like, and so if you're a musician or you're an aspiring musician, don't feel like you got to get it all right in one day because you probably ain't. You probably ain't gonna get it. You're probably gonna be like, I don't know how to play this next chord when I'm supposed to play it. Because you got like 17 things you got to think about while you're doing that. Especially if you're using your fingers. Now you got 10 other things that you got to keep in mind.
Yeah.
They got to be in the right places and like got to move the right way. Plus your feet, you got sustaining pedals and like it's a whole lot to think about. And so you got to take it piece by piece, like little by little. And as your brain gets used to dealing with the stuff, you add more on. Like that's how you see these amazing musicians who are able to just like they just and they're just having a casual conversation. You know, like it's a level of mastery that you don't get to in a day. You don't get to it in a year. You get to it over long periods of time, where you're grinding out and just trying to add more, trying to add more to the base of your glacier, right? Anyway, music tips 101. So started leading worship at that point, and graduated college with my music degree, and so after I graduated college, I worked. I had 3 jobs. I had one job at a sandwich shop. I had another job selling Cutco knives.
That's so random.
4 jobs, excuse me. Selling Cutco knives, working in an auto glass warehouse, and then selling insurance. And those last 3, everything is outside of the Cutco knives I did in tandem.
Right.
And I got into that full-time auto glass job and stopped doing everything else for the most part, man. Oh no, I broke the fuzzy. I broke it. Sorry if I'm making loud noises for you.
Yeah, you are now directly talking straight into the mic. Yeah,
sorry.
So outside of worship, I guess church setting, you've had 4 jobs. Yeah. I've only been working for about 8.5 years, and I think I'm already at about 22 jobs.
Nice.
I don't think that's a good thing. Well, it depends on how you look at it. I've got a lot of experience in a lot of different things.
Jack.
But does not look good on a resume.
Well, I guess it depends on the job that you're looking for, and really, unfortunately, what I found too is that a lot of the jobs that are out here, not out here in particular, but just out there for you to grab, like you've got to be. I think, and maybe I don't know if this is like a millennial thing, where like you're like, or like millennial and under thing, where like we don't like taking crappy crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if the job culture is crap, why would I stay?
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
what? Like I'm not like I'm. And again, I think that's some of the. I think that's a generational difference because I know I've talked to older people and they're like, yeah, I did it because it was for my family. You know, at that point, I didn't have family. You know, like I mean, I have family, but like I wasn't working for my family. You know, I'm like I gotta exist. So why would I do it and be miserable? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, for a lot of my stuff, I wasn't miserable. In fact, I would say, weirdly enough, one of some of the greatest ministry times that I've ever had, I found in an auto glass warehouse.
Oh, nice.
Some of my marked times with the Lord, I found running around on some heavy machinery as I'm slinging glass. That doesn't sound right. Transporting auto glass items to and fro delivery trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I am not a druggie, I promise.
slinging glass does sound a little
Yeah,
sketchy.
yeah. I watched Breaking Bad. I should have stayed away from that. Yeah, man. Like I just remember, man, so many times, and it kind of varied because like there be times where I like Power Rangers, so I go and find this one YouTube thing that's got like 18 minutes of all the intros, and I just be throwing down for no reason. It's stupid. It's so freaking nerdy. I don't know how I got married. That's beside the point. That's so nerdy. But yeah, man, like but there are also those times, man, where like all I had was like all I wanted to do was just be before the Lord, and so I'm doing my job, and I'm just like the deepest in prayer at this point in my life that I'd ever been, because all I was doing. I mean, dude, it was 9 hours typically every day, and then we got to moving our warehouses, and them hours got a lot longer.
Yeah.
Man, all I was doing was talking to the Lord and singing to the Lord and just enjoying time, man. Got to help lead some people to the Lord in my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, went through some stuff while I was there, but like,
Yeah.
but got to be a part of somebody's story that, like, I see him now on Facebook too, and I'm just like, and we talk every now and then, and I'm just like, you love Jesus, and your life has changed.
Mhm.
All the crap that you were going through in the times that I knew you, like, and I'd see you regularly, and man, like, look at life now. And I got to be a little bit a part of that. So, yeah. Anyway, so I think that's probably my favorite job. Weirdly enough,
Nice.
it's not because of the job, but just like the opportunity.
Mhm.
Full show,
For sure.
full show. But yeah, and then I had to finish answering your question.
Yeah.
Got a. I was there. Funny enough, sorry, let me scroll back just a second. While I was in college and some stuff happened, which is another story. Um, um, the Lord, the Lord gave me a ministry, and so we started this thing called Rain, and it wasn't anything like, it wasn't like a. When I say he gave me a ministry, I don't mean he gave me some kind of platform to go and do the thing.
Yeah.
What I mean is, man, we walked into a room one day. I got invited to go and worship with some folks after just having like this crazy God moment with the Lord the day beforehand. Walking down to the basement of the music building to find this random dude who I hold in high regard. But just this random dude, he looks at me, and there's this girl there too. And they just look at me and like begin to pretty much verbatim say what my pastor said to me that set off this huge God moment in my life the night before. And so they said that to me that night, and I'm and it's not like I gave it to them. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I did. None of that.
That's crazy.
Dude looked Dustin. His name is Dustin. Dude looked at me. Sorry, I didn't mean to what's that word when you dock somebody? Yeah, I didn't mean to dock you. I'm not gonna give him your last name though. Gotcha. Okay. Bro looked at me and said verbatim, bro, what my pastor said to me the day before, talking about Peter. And that's another. Anyway, we started the ministry, and why do I have my rabbit holes are so huge? My gosh. Anyway, started a ministry called Rain, and that was just and it was birthed in the basement of a music building, and it was just a few of us, and it turned into this crazy massive thing where like people were coming, people were getting saved, man. We were seeing miracles happen, words of prophecy going out that were accurate, like scary accurate, like. You should not know that, but I mean that's what it was. Like we were just there. We were just there just to lift up the name of the Lord. And anybody who was showing up, it just became ministry because like our hearts were so about being about people, because that's what the Lord was about. We were just open to that, and the Lord just whispering and giving people exactly what they needed through the other people that were there. It was wild. But anyway, like my job, my first church job came because of that. Because what happened is I ended up in one of our dorms, and I was kind of goofing around with the piano, and then this random guy shows up, and he's like, and we're chilling, having a good time, saying a couple secular songs, which is not my forte. Right. But then somebody came by and was like, "Are there any Christian songs?" And I said, "Yeah," and he was like, "Yeah," and then we went to town. It was like the first day of school, my junior year, I want to say, something like that. It's like the day before the first day of school. And bro, until they told us we couldn't anymore, like at quiet hours or whatever, like we were it was a whole worship session.
That's awesome.
And then after, this is several years after that, I'm working in the auto glass factory. I get a call, or I get a text message from some random young adult pastor in Orlando, Florida. Turns out the guy who I was singing with that day, he moved back to Orlando before he graduated college, and they happened to be looking for worship leaders. And he was like, I think I got a guy that would be great for what we're looking for. Threw my name into a hat, man, and I don't wanna go into a long version of the story, but essentially like I had some other things in plan. Like I had a girlfriend, and I was about to move up to Virginia because my parents were also there. It was a whole thing, and but like there's this opportunity too, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the Lord's leading me to there. Really, what was leading me is because I wanted to be near my family and my at the time girlfriend. And every door that was open, at least that I thought was open at that point, for me to go to, nope, bro, if I
Slam shut.
just in my face, broke nose and all, like, bro, pretty sure. Anyway, I mean, we broke up. My job fell through up there, like. It was a cataclysm, bro.
Yeah.
Like of all the nonsense. And then I ended up going to. I was a little bit broken and defeated, but the young adult pastor invited me to a young adult retreat. So I went down, and then he just asked me to bring my guitar and just sing a little bit. Just lead a little bit of worship, nothing crazy. Not a bunch of, not running teams or anything, just like sing before the Lord and go. That turned into my first church job. It also turned into, partially, it turned into me being able to go and meet my now wife, who was a couple hours away from me. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, and then we got married and figured out that where we were was not necessarily for us. It was 100% for me when I moved up.
Right.
But the us factor came into play, and we had to make some changes. And man, and then again, and I'm telling you, God is so good.
Yeah.
Like God be setting you up in ways that you can't even imagine. You have no idea the stuff that comes into your future. Like if there's a plan for your life to be long, like there's a plan for God to provide. Period. If you're here, like, you just got to learn how to trust the Lord and let Him provide for you.
Absolutely.
Because what happened is, in the midst of, doing whatever you can to be in obedience like through your whole life. Because what happened is, some guy that I went to church with sent me a Facebook message. Hadn't talked to him in years. Sent me a Facebook message, said, hey, there's this church up in North Alabama. They're looking for a worship pastor right now. Now, where I was before this, pretty stinking high profile church. Should I look up?
No.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know how.
So good.
Okay. Where I was at this point, pretty stinking high profile church. And I didn't have like necessarily like a pastoral role, or I was entry level where I was working. And I got several pretty sizable offers from some churches who were looking for pastors and worship leaders and things along those lines. And I never really it didn't seem like the right thing. And man, like this was he sent me that Facebook message. This is the first time I was like, I think I need to look into this. And in Coleman, Alabama too, bruh, that's another story. I'm black, in case y'all didn't know this. And I pastored in Coleman, Alabama, which is historically racist. Fun fact.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because Alabama has a bad rap, and especially Coleman, Alabama has a really bad rap.
Yeah.
And so I've been in arguments with people that I went to school with, and they said that white people are inherently racist. Like when they say that, they meant that we're born racist and we have to be taught to not be racist.
Yeah, that's weird.
To me, that doesn't make any sense. You're taught everything, right? You're born not knowing anything.
Most things. I'd say mental processes. From like a thinking standpoint, that's mostly taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to call somebody inherently racist. That implies that it's in your blood. and that'll make you don't. It's like,
Yeah.
your blood's not racist. That's like,
Right.
that's actually that statement in and of itself is racist. Um,
So I was just gonna like, what was it like coming here? Like, what did you think was gonna happen when you got here? And is it different than what you expected?
Yeah, so I'm from Alabama,
Mm.
and I've got a friend who I've got a couple friends who actually live in this area that I've known for years. So once I finally got back to Alabama and had a vehicle, we would come up to Coleman every now and then and like go hang on the lake or something like that. So like, but I've known, and you know, my mom is also, if you didn't know this, she's also black, and so like I look at the camera, I feel like I'm Jim from The Office. Making awkward eye contact with the camera. Yeah, mom. So of course she tells me like there are some places that you don't need to find yourself, and Coleman is one of those places, especially if it's nighttime. Now, I take that with a grain of salt, because I know again like there's some things that like you think are baked into people's existence, and there might have been a little bit of that with my mom. I don't know. But I took a little bit of that with a grain of salt, but I'm still like you know, watching my back and all that stuff, you know, in the years that I was growing up and being able to move, come up here. But when my wife and I moved, or before my wife and I even moved here, we actually came to the city, knowing the history, and like I'm telling my wife, you know, I was like, hey, just so you know, this place kind of got a history, and it's not a very favorable one it's not a favorable it's not a favorable one in terms of me being chocolate. So one of the things that we're probably going to need to do is just go around and be in the city and just I'm going to kind of have my radar on and make
Yeah.
sure that like that I can exist here and not really have to worry about anything. Because if we have kids, we want them to be able to exist here and not having to worry about anything because they're black.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and man, got here. I cannot tell you how peaceful and how welcoming it's been to just be here. And I'm not naive to the fact that there are racists that still are in the area because unfortunately they're everywhere. They show it differently. I would say no, I'm gonna say it. I can say that.
Yeah.
I'd say you know people who say white people are inherently racist are you know indeed racist themselves, which you know God loves them and they got some stuff to work on, so that's okay.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, but you know it's an everywhere thing. It just shows up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I learned to not take the stuff that people put on me. Going back to identity, I learned to not take the stuff that people put on me
Yeah.
as seriously as they would like me to. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And that's a moniker. That's not the right word. That's a mantra for any person that like you really need to look at yourself like God sees you. And then, and this is the hard one, I think for me and for anybody really. And then you gotta do the same thing for the people that are around you, especially the boneheads.
Yeah.
That's hard. that's difficult. But yeah, it's been awesome. You know, you got the weird the people who make like awkward, off-putting comments. There's one guy. Not every time I go to Walmart, but I think now 3 times in the past couple of weeks, I'm seeing this older guy. I think he just lives at Walmart, and he looks up and he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, are you from the colonies?" It's the same old dude, and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not." The colonies is where a lot of black people live that are in the Coleman area.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why I don't know why he keeps asking me that specifically. He finds me and asks me. Probably does that with every black person he sees. But you know, it's just like weird, like off color, no pun intended, off color stuff. That's really not that deep, but also it's just like, come on, bruh. Like you can do better than that. That being said, I think all in all, like it's been a really pleasant experience,
Yeah.
and it's been one like we probably wouldn't have even tried to get pregnant. Or really avoided it if we didn't feel like we could raise our kids in a place where they're being loved and taken care
Yeah.
of, and not despised or hunted or anything along those lines. And I think that's really, you know, I know it's weird to say that because it's not like we're in like the 1900s where a lot of this is rampant and things are crazy over here. But you know, like to even have that peace of mind where it just doesn't like I know that it exists somewhere, but like to have just a community of people who are like they love us just because it's us and not because I happen to be black and and cool, we love you, you know, like that's and to find that in the heart of Coleman, man, I know that there's more to this, and I know there's more in the future, but there's a revival that's in Coleman right now, that is restoring relationships with people, that's getting away from, and I know we got news sources and things along those lines that they project other things, but man, like I'm in the throes with the people. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a pastor,
Yeah.
and so like I'm in the throes with the people, and that barrier is slowly but surely being erased. You know, the connections of God's people,
Yeah.
the great equalizer of being the Lord,
Yeah.
bringing us to the same level of playing field. Man, like just I love what I'm seeing. We ain't 100% there yet, and I don't know if anybody will ever 100% get there, because we all got some of that stuff we got to work out of us. We got to let the Lord work out of us. But yeah, since I've been here too, like it's just been this. I've been sensing and seeing, tangibly seeing the difference, right? So yeah, it's been awesome, and it's ministry too. You know, I think one of the things that I think the Lord called me to is to figure out how to minister to people that get on my nerves. Not saying that people here get on my nerves, but I think racists do get on my nerves. You know, and I don't care what color you are. Like if you're a racist, you probably get on my nerves.
Right.
Because like I don't even say that. Never mind. No, I can just leave it at that. Like people who get on my nerves are like people who think that way. And I'm like, why? Like, why do you spend your brain power being upset about somebody being a different color? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is like you don't know people. You know, like you don't get to know these people that you think you know, and it's just ad hominems and like it's like integrated into who you are. It's not really, but like you know, you show up and all you got to do is say something bad about the way somebody looks. Like that's what your mind's at right now. Like you got plenty of stuff to worry about. Me being black and you being white is not one of them things. Like it's 2024.
Yeah.
We might not be done with it, but it ain't that deep. I can tell you right
Yeah, it really. So there was a callback in there. If listeners, audience, if y'all have listened to the last couple of episodes, you will remember that I did mention.
Excuse me.
Did mention.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to.
I did mention Lucas and Carolina in my last episode, and I was talking about how one of the biggest lessons I got from them over the last several years with them giving me a lot of life advice was to pray and ask God to help me see me how He sees me. And you had mentioned just how coming here you kind of took on the thought of I'm not going to take on what somebody else puts on me. I'm gonna see me how He sees me, you know. And so if you've been listening, that was a callback to the episode, and that just shows you that He doesn't just give advice, you know, taken out of his tail. He gives it from personal like experience. So as you heard, he's been through quite a bit, and I'm sure there's a lot that he didn't mention for time and probably privacy as well. Probably don't want to put our whole lives on here, right?
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think that'll do it. That was a great interview. I think a lot of people have been really wanting to get to know you more. And obviously, we can't have time for everybody, so this will help kind of get you and your information, your testimony out there, so people can just know who their worship pastor is, and who's leading them in worship. And if you don't come to Daystar and just want to check us out online, you can go to daystarchurch.tv or well, I guess you could just find us on YouTube as well. If you don't want to come here and experience it in person, we do have the worship on the lives as well.
Yeah.
So, and it's always amazing, regardless. Now, I would say it's a little bit of a different feel when you're in the room, but
Oh, it's a lot different.
it is a lot different. So,
It's a lot.
if you want the full experience, come check us out.
Get in the build.
Get in the building.
Why'd you say it like that, Dave?
See, this is the exact same thing,
Bro.
as he did before.
Bro, what were we doing? We were getting that furniture from that lady's house, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. We'll tell the story. A bit.
Yeah.
So we get furniture from this lady's house, and I'm like, come on, Nick, we're gonna get some biscuits, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna get some biscuits. And I looked at him and I said, why? I said, why'd you say it like that, Nick? He just went red. That was a good one.
I didn't know what to say. I was like,
Yes.
He got me on that one. It was actual fear.
Oh man.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
good times.
That
was
was
good times.
hilarious. Exact same thing he just did to me.
Yeah. That one was significantly worse though. It was beauty. Like I could not have created
Yeah.
a better scenario for that to happen.
Yeah, because at that time, what we'd known each other for, was this 2022?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So
So
this-
within a year. I said,
Within a year of meeting him, this happened.
yeah.
So I didn't know anything about his humor. So that was a great time and a good callback with that. I was not expecting that. I didn't think about it when I
Uh-huh.
said it.
Well, I said it the same way. Yeah.
I just repeated in the same exact way.
Yes.
Didn't think.
I wonder if that's what happened when we were in the van.
I wouldn't
in
be
the church
surprised.
van. Yeah.
Someone told me that someone asked me why I repeat things that they say often. I didn't realize that I do that.
Mhm.
But when I find something funny,
Mhm.
I'll repeat it
Yeah.
because I want to hear it again. And just in case those other people didn't hear it.
Mhm.
Like if they're not laughing, I'm like, this is why you should be laughing right
Yeah.
now. Like that was funny.
Yeah.
So I try to realize what I do before I do that.
Mhm.
But it's just habit now.
Yeah.
If I think it's funny, you might hear it a second time.
I don't think that's particularly bad.
Well, good.
I think you should lean into it.
All right.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it here. Get over it.
Get in the building.
Get it. I almost did it again. Thank you for listening. That was episode number 25. Six, probably.
Page number 3, my lord.
Definitely number 26. That was funny. I keep forgetting to do this at the beginning of the episodes. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you've made it this far, you're probably subscribed by now.
Yeah.
Hit that bell icon, make sure all notifications are turned on, and if you like something or didn't like something or have any questions and want like answers in specific topics, put it all in the comments. I will see it all and I'll address it as soon as I do, like, because these are pre-recorded, so I'll address it in the very next episode that I record. So yeah, do that, do the things, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace. Good times.
Yes, definitely one more comedic podcast I recorded.
Well, it's always funny to make dad jokes.